my name is Krisha. I'm 20 years old, and today we're actually doing something very different for my channel. It's not a tutorial, nor is it, I've only ever done one review. Today I am doing a video solely taken from this woman right here, Allie Glines, and she was inspired by Samantha March. They did a collab all about eyeshadow palettes, and I thought that that sounds like a really fun idea. She has like drawers upon drawers of eyeshadow palettes. I do not. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 eyeshadow palettes, and that is a lot. I'm not saying it's not, but so we're gonna go through the list. We're gonna name them off. So let's get started. So the first category is, the first one is newest eyeshadow palette. And here's the thing, I got a whole bunch of these palettes for Christmas. I got the Jeffree Star Blood Sugar palette, the Jeffree Star Blue Blood palette, the Carli Bybel Anastasia palette, and the Frozen 2 palette, all for Christmas. So technically, all 4 of these are my newest. Oh my god, that's really funny. They're technically all my newest. Yeah, I would say like the newest out of all of them, because I opened this one last. So the Carli Bybel Anastasia palette, which I absolutely love this palette, is my newest one. So let's keep going. So the next category is oldest palette, and I actually have a problem with this category because my first palette I ever had, or my first ever eyeshadow, was a Almay Trio, and I'll try to find a picture. It is so old. It had a silver, a gold, and a blue shade, and I remember literally like every time I would do my eyeshadow, I would just like rub the silver. It was down to like the plastic bottom. And the other eyeshadow palette, I believe I got the Almay one first, I remember that, and then I got the L'Oreal Nude palette. Those are the 2 palettes I would have, and I would literally put, I thought it was a brown smoky eye, it absolutely wasn't. I would just put like a light brown shade in my crease and then the silver on top, and that's and a wing liner, and that's literally how I did my makeup like every single time. So those are my oldest palettes. I got the Almay when I was in like the 8th grade. Technically, of the palettes, I still have the Lunar Beauty Life's a Drag palette. This is the oldest palette I currently have in my collection, and I still use it all the time. It's perfect. I love this palette because it's perfect to use on people. I don't know how he did it, but literally, like, you could stand it like this, you can hold it in your hand. Hello. It's perfect to use on people because you have all of these great shades. Like, each of these browns is like a different undertone. So it's perfect to use on other people. And then literally a gold and a pink, these 2 are beautiful. And then like, you could like this as a pop of color is always great. Like, I love bringing all of my palettes to when I do people's makeup, but literally like this one I know is very reliable, but this one is perfect. I love this palette. Most expensive palette, I think it has to be the Bloods. Yeah, the Blood Sugar and the Blue Blood palette, both of these are $52. I got these as gifts because Allison is the greatest human being to ever exist. So these are probably my most expensive palettes. They're $52 each. I know the rest of them are like, I know that each of these 3 are like 40 something. And then the Morphe James Charles palette, that is $39. I remember because literally he said it a million times. That's $39. So, and then most affordable. Of the ones I have currently, I don't know between these 2. This is the Makeup Revolution Pride palette from last summer. I got this for my birthday. And it's really, this palette's actually really cool. I don't normally use it. Like, I don't find the need for these shades normally, but like, it's so cool because the glitter is in some sort of jelly formula. So even when you put it on, it doesn't get everywhere. Like, all that glitter, I have a whole bunch on my finger right now, and it has not budged. Like, the jelly formula it's in is really good. Literally, of all the Pride palettes to come out last year, I think this is one of my favorites, just because it's so unique and it's so, like, it's good. Like, it's a good palette. And then the Frozen 2 palette, I have the Elsa Frozen 2 palette. I love this palette. I absolutely adore this palette. The metallics in here are so unique and they're so incredibly soft. The mattes in here are amazing. And then the glitter flurry, again, it's in that classic like ColourPop jelly that just works. And then like I just love this glitter because it's just so, it's so perfect, and really you do not see it until the light hits it. So like it's like a sophisticated glitter. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, I think between these two, these are my two most affordable palettes, but I don't know which one is more affordable. I'll put the price somewhere and show you who won. All right, so everyday. I'm stuck. My favorite everyday palette. The problem is I don't wear makeup every day. That's hard because I love using both of these. This is the Jeffree Star Thirsty palette, and this is the Life's a Drag Lunar Beauty palette. Both of these have, I already showed you the Lunar Beauty palette, so I'll show you the Thirsty palette. This palette has a ton of, it has neutrals in it, which is great. But also what I love is that the middle row is all like glitters and metallics. So you have like a perfect metallic for every occasion. And I'm gonna admit this now because I bought this with my own money, but I kept the Almay Trio for years because I could not find a palette with the silver, the same formula of silver in the Almay palette, because it was the best silver I've ever used. The problem is that it was like, I was in college. This little palette was like 7 years old. I was still using it. And my boyfriend and I were going through all my eyeshadow palettes. We threw out a ton that were really old. And I wanted to show him how great the silver was. And I swatched the silver on my hand. And my hand instantly broke out in hives. Now, I have extremely sensitive skin, so that's probably another reason, but literally it was so old and so expired that like it had to go. So I bought this palette for this silver right here because it's so good. I'm not kidding you, it's so good. And then this shade Parched, I think I use pretty much in every video I do, I use this shade. And then Subtle. Like, this is my favorite palette to travel with too because it's the same size. It's the same size as my ColourPop Make Your Own like palette, which has like my bronzer and like my blush and my highlights that I love using. So they fit really well together and they travel really well together. Another palette I really actually like using is the Frozen 2 palette, because it has this perfect neutral right here, which allows me to do literally whatever I want with this palette. And like I can use this shade right here, this dark plum, to like even out a crease, or I can just double up on the neutral. Yeah, so, and also, so I say these three palettes. Alright, most colorful, like, I have to give it to the James Charles palette. Like, it's super huge, and it has every, like, it has every color you want, but like, no matter what, you will find a color in here that will work for you, and I love it. I love this palette just because like it's so easy to use, and I really think that like the mini of this is the perfect beginner palette for any new person who wants to try makeup. That's like the perfect palette to like gift them, and also it's just the perfect palette to gift in general because like it's everything you want. So smallest palette, it comes down to the Frozen 2 and the Carli Bybel palette, because like the Carli Bybel palette, it is really small and really compact, which I love because it fits perfectly in like any makeup bag I have. And also the Frozen 2 palette, it's super small, So yeah, that was quick. Biggest palette, James Charles palette. Like, I love that they came out with a mini because it's so easy to travel with. The problem is I already have the bigger one, so I don't want to buy another palette just to travel with it. If I ever like need to get rid of this palette, like say it's expired or I broke it, I am gonna buy the small palette because it's much easier to travel with, so I hear. Most memorable has to be Life's a Drag. Simply for the reason is that this started my makeup Instagram. This started my YouTube channel. So, worth the hype. Shockingly, Blood Sugar palette. I'd say all of the palettes I have are worth the hype, but strangely enough, Blood Sugar palette is very much worth the hype. Like, you wouldn't expect like a palette that looks like this, you'd get a lot of use out of it, but I have, because like, you don't see it through the pictures, but like this row up here, like, is a lot of neutrals, and there are a couple more neutrals in here. Like this white, this Sweetener has to be my favorite shade to use in this palette because it is a duochrome orange to pink. And it is so beautiful on the eye. It flatters everyone. It is a really flattering shade. So I really think a worth the hype palette is the Blood Sugar palette. Just like, and you wouldn't expect it. And I really think like if you are on the fence about buying this palette, I would honestly say go for it. Like it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to keep in your collection just as like a showpiece, but also even if you're just a neutrals gal and you want like a pop of something, you can find it in this palette. Not worth the hype. Oof, that's hard. I would honestly say none of them. The problem is that like I'm not a big beauty guru. I don't have a ton of palettes. Literally, I do so much research into anything I buy because I'm a college student and I use my own money that I make myself to buy treats for myself, such as palettes. So it's really, really hard to say. I can't say because all of them I've used, all of them I've loved. It's like, I can't say none of them are worth the hype. They're all worth the hype. I made sure they were worth the hype. Favorite palette from a favorite brand. Now, the only brand I have multiple palettes from is Jeffree Star. So I'm gonna have to say that the Jeffree Star Thirsty palette is my favorite out of the three. Actually, I have favorites from each of them. Like, each of them are my favorite in a special way. This one's my favorite just because this one is like my most used palette. I always can rely on this palette. I don't have to open it and look through it and like think of looks if I'm packing it. I literally can just shove it in a bag and go because I know that I can make so many looks with this. The Blood Sugar palette is my favorite because like it's just so unique and I get so... Well, both of them. The Blood Sugar and the Blue Blood palette, I love both of them just looking at them because they inspire me so much to create looks and like give me so many ideas that I want to do. And like the same as I said for the Blood Sugar palette before, I'm going to say for the Blue Blood palette, there are actually like a ton of neutrals in here that you could add a color to. And some of these shades are so unique. I'm so glad, Allison, you got these for me. And then most used palette. It's between these two. The Life's a Drag palette and the Thirsty palette, like I said before, they are very, very reliable palettes. All of these, like each shade in each palette I know have been perfected and tested and they work so well. So like most used are these two because I know I can trust them. And these are very, so like more often than not I will use these palettes on like an everyday basis. I think if you go to every single video I've ever posted where I do an eyeshadow look, either Life's a Drag or the Thirsty palette is in it. That's pretty much it. And I'm gonna add a 14th category, A palette I want. There are two palettes I'm looking at that I would love. The Jeffree Star Jawbreaker palette. I've had my eye on. Ooh, like I'm like looking at it, I'm like, ooh, hello there. And the ColourPop Honey palette, the yellow palette. I have a look in mind for my college graduation day. My school colors are brown and yellow. So I would love to do a brown smoky eye with a bright metallic yellow or a yellow glitter on top. So I've been looking into palettes that have a metallic yellow, because metallic yellows are quite strangely hard to come by. Probably I'm going to end up purchasing for myself the Honey palette just because, like, it's small. It's small, it's well contained, and it has the color I need. The Jeffree Star Thirsty palette, I think I'm going to purchase that when one of these other palettes I have expire. I'm gonna link the video of my entire makeup collection in one bag, and these two palettes I can't even fit into the bag. So these have to be carried around separately because I love these. They're my babies, and if anything happens to them, I'll kill you. So, alright, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Please go subscribe to Allie Glines, and thank you so much for making this video because it was so awesome to do and so much fun. If you guys like me, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. We've been getting like a lot of new people recently, and that's so awesome because like I love you guys and thank you so much for supporting me. All right, I'll see you all in the next one.